Technology is comprised of intricate computer systems and applications that have created new ways for us to communicate and carry out work in increasingly efficient ways. I use several forms of technology to aid us in producing our opening sequence. I have learnt how to use software programs such as Adobe After Effects to create titles and media sites such as Prezi to present my work. To answer this question, I will be evaluating my use of the equipment and software. We used my Nikon DSLR camera to film the footage for our production. This was an effective choice as it allowed me to film shots of high quality and arrange focus in order to place emphasis on particular objects and people in our shots. A key feature of my camera is its ability to create focus pulls. The focus pull is carried out simply by pressing down on the photo shooting button until it readjusts from one area to the other. This detracts the viewer's attention from one object to another, highlighting the significance of a person or object. One of my most successful focus pulls within our production is the shot where the focus is pulled from behind the tree to the characters walking by in the background. This shot was especially effective as it makes the audience aware that the characters are being watched. This is conventional of the thriller genre as it creates suspense and enigma as this anonymous being is likely to pose a threat to our protagonists. As from my research, I discovered that thrillers commonly feature good and evil forces, who often battle one another. I found using my camera was a relatively simple task. As it belongs to myself, I was fairly knowledgeable about how to operate it. Following the shot log which we created, I set up the camera as required to film each shot individually and persevered until I was satisfied with the positioning and focus of each shot. Thanks to my camera, our video is exported to YouTube with a visually satisfying quality of 1080p. Our target audience stated that they found my camera work to be unique and professional looking. I would rate my usage of this piece of equipment a 9 out of 10. As from reviewing our production, I can say that I am pleased with the majority of shots due to their professional appearance, owed to my meticulous composition of each shot. Next time, to improve, I would perhaps have experimented with a wider range of shots such as the dolly zoom, which I learned in my research. However, we approached our production with realistic goals and carried out shots which I was able to pull off professionally with the equipment available. After discovering that the dialogue audio from the shots of our first shoot was rather muffled by a loud wind sound, we had to innovate and decided to use a boom mic to refilm those shots. This was highly useful in the creation of our production, as it ensured that our dialogue was clear, as well as including that natural ambience from the woods, reflecting very similitude, to make the production as realistic as possible. Realism ensures that the audience can relate, which I believe we successfully created, as feedback from our audience shows that they thought the dialogue was clear and easy to hear, proving that our use of this piece of equipment was worthwhile. We plugged the mic into my camera and took turns holding it as the filming was carried out by myself. In a few instances, I had to manage both my camera and the boom mic due to our limited crew members, which I believe I did successfully, ensuring that it was a suitable distance from our actors and didn't interfere with the shot. Here are 2 videos showcasing how the use of the boom mic has changed our production for the better.
I don't see any. I don't see. Look right there. What is that?
In comparison, we can see how the boom mic definitely cuts down the wind noise, making it easier to hear the dialogue, as well as keeping some of that natural wind ambience for realism. Overall, I would rate my usage of the boom mic an 8 out of 10, as it was successful in its job to improve our audio. Next time, to make this task easier for myself, I would have had someone else accompany us to hold the mic when I was filming. Editing software program Adobe Premiere was essential in helping us collate and edit the footage for our production. The editing was managed mostly by team member Grace, who made good use of the tools offered by Premiere, such as adding transitions to make it flow smoother. The use of a transition was especially effective between the newspaper article and our establishing shot. Our audience also commented on how they were impressed by this, and I think that it really added to our production. Premiere allowed us to arrange footage onto the timeline, putting our production together as a whole. My own contribution came after we received feedback on our first draft, stating that to improve we could make several minor changes such as cutting out certain unnecessary parts to make our piece more comprehensive, as to make it more identifiable as an opening sequence. I was able to open up our project on Premiere and locate the parts that needed to be altered, deleting or correcting them. Before, I hadn't any experience with this software, but I found the functions fairly easy to pick up. The application of our knowledge of thriller conventions, influenced by our research, resulted in the selection of appropriate sounds that well reflected the genre, as agreed with by our audience. The music we selected was reflective of thriller and helped build the suspense, therefore creating that eerie effect we're aiming for. Here is an example of how I use Premiere to improve a particular section of our production. Notice how, when Grace scuttles back in fear, the sound of the leaves rustling isn't as audible as we would have hoped. Therefore, to improve this part and make our production more realistic, me and Abby went out to film some leaf rustling sounds, which I then applied to the footage. I would rate my usage of this software as 7 out of 10, as I was able to help improve our project, and next time I would take on a more predominant role in the editing to get more involved. It allowed us to export our project and upload it to YouTube. YouTube was also a useful piece of technology that aided us in distributing our production online, as it allows access to our viewers. Overall, I have developed my skills with using Premiere and learnt the importance of editing software in enhancing the quality of our production. To create the titles for our production, I used Adobe After Effects, a program that allows us to design text and apply animations to make our titles more visually interesting, instead of just having something plain and standard. I had not used this program before, but found it fairly simple to get used to how to use it. When we had combined our first clips on Premiere and therefore had an idea of exactly where we wanted our titles to be placed, I began setting up compositions for each title. Together, myself and Abby decided on the effects that should be used, browsing through the animations that were available. For our production logo title, Abby devised the title and we picked a professional-looking text, applying an animation that allowed the letters to swoop onto the screen and a couple seconds later fade away to the next title. I ensured the titles were produced consistently with the same animation effect and having them shown for a suitable amount of time. For our production's title, Through the Lens, we chose to display this in a font that relates to the theme of photography/film, with a distorted effect reflecting the genre as thriller. The titles were important in indicating to the viewer that the production was an opening sequence, as commonly films have the credits and title at the beginning, as to introduce everything and set up the narrative. When we asked our audience whether they found our titles to be appropriate, they responded that they successfully gave our production an eerie feel, and the use of simple colours created contrast, reflecting the genre as thriller. I would rate my usage of After Effects an 8 out of 10, and to improve I would perhaps have looked at a wider range of fonts and animation styles, as although we viewed many, there are likely to have been other options. In conclusion, through constructing our thriller opening sequence, I have been able to use and develop my usage of technology throughout the stages of production and post-production, including using the camera, external mic, and editing software, subsequently developing my technical skills that have improved myself as a filmmaker. Technology is an essential element in enhancing the quality and subsequently professionality of our work, and I can say that our teamwork has resulted in a product that we are proud of. Proficient improvements from our prelim to our main task are evident, due to our dedicated focus on working on the things that needed improving in our prelim. For example, our access to better technology, my camera as opposed to the school's, resulted in footage of higher quality, making our production more professional.